Cleveland.com.
Ryan, there was a point in the game, I can't remember the exact play, it was the throw into the end zone that Chris just missed, and the TV showed you like giving CJ the thumbs up. That was one of the few like real vertical shots it seemed like got taken in that game. Are you taking enough of those as much as you want to take? Is he seeing those as much as you want to see him?
I thought the questions today were going to be, are we throwing the ball too far down the field? So that one caught me off guard. No, I think we just have to be smart when the shots are there. Then we have to take them. I thought in that spot, the reason I thought he did a great job was he kind of threw it where only Chris could catch it. He didn't put it at risk, and then later on, the interception, we just forced it down the field. Throw the ball down the field late is not good. But I think we throw the ball down the field and as aggressive as anybody in the country.
What the situation is with Jack, and then I guess in relation to that, you talked before about Quinn not really being close to ready to play in a game. Is he any closer now that it seems like he is your third?
Yeah, no, he's making progress. He's I thought coming off of the bye, he's been working hard and getting better. He's starting to just look more comfortable walking around the facility, and he's starting to pick up the offense. It's taken a little time for him to pick up the offense, but that's because he just got thrown into it. Didn't have a spring ball, didn't have a preseason. There's a lot to it, and it's hard when you don't get a ton of reps. But he's getting more reps now, and I think you're starting to see him feel more comfortable around the team.
Is Jack's suspension just indefinite?
Yeah, until we get more information about how things are being handled. Yeah.
Second row right. Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, just to follow up on Jack, is he able to do anything with the team right now? Or from all team activities?
For right now, at least until the end of the week, he's going to be off the team. Yes.
And what would he have to? I know you're looking for more information, but what would you need to see or learn from him to be welcome back?
Just to kind of get more information about how things are going to be handled and what the conclusion and the findings are of everything, and so just making sure that we have all the information before we make any decisions about moving forward.
And question on Garrett, he was not available on Saturday. How is he looking to move more forward in game week this week?
Yeah, looking forward to having a really good week of practice with him and getting him back out there today, and certainly not having someone like Garrett for a game is we miss him, so looking forward to having him back this week.
Second row left, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Ryan, with Trevion, it seems like maybe the last couple of weeks he's been running really hard, and physically, but maybe there are times where he's almost seeking out that contact rather than making guys miss as he was earlier in the year. Like, what's the balance there with the running back? And you're trying to run hard, but maybe you don't run the contact all the time.
I think he's running hard, and that's good. And he needs to continue to run hard, like you said. And there's times where you need to make a guy miss. There's times where you got to make a hard, ugly 3-4 and turn that into 5 and 6. And he's an excellent running back. He's learning. He's getting stronger. Certainly, taking care of the football is critically important, and he's going to have to do that again this week. But I've been impressed with how he's been able to handle the amount of carries. Whether we have that happen again this week or not, we'll see. We certainly would like to see them split up a little bit. It's a lot to ask for a young player, but we're getting some of the other guys back that are in that room, and so. But been impressed with how he's been working at it, and the run game this week is obviously something we're going to continually work on and try to figure out how to be more efficient in those areas and make sure that we are efficient in our run game. We're getting 4 yards or more on all of our runs, which keeps us on schedule, which is something that's a huge focus this week.
And switching topics, I wanted to ask you about something about recruiting. I think there are some head coaches who maybe take an approach where they'll try to close out a recruitment, or they'll hang back a little bit until it's like really crunch time and then start to get heavily involved. You seem to be very present very early with a lot of your top targets, almost on the daily. Why do you take that approach as opposed to the other one where you can just hang back a little bit, let your assistants do a lot of the groundwork there?
Well, I think at the end of the day, things happen in college football where we've been very fortunate. We've had stability here for a long time, and coaches who have done a great job and have been here for a while. So that's great. I think that's a huge selling point. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, in my opinion, the head coach and the culture that's being, cultivated here, and what's the vision? Because somewhere along the line, coaches do come and go. Hopefully, we want all of our guys to stay for the next 15, 20 years. But at the end of the day, when that happens, who's the head coach and what's the culture going to be? Because that's going to stay consistent. And so I just think that that's important in recruiting. And like you said about the different philosophies, I really put it in their court. If you want to do this, if you want to be an Ohio State Buckeye, then let's do this. But it has to come from the recruit and their family. like you said, closing guys out anymore, to me, doesn't really exist. Certainly you have to make a decision. And at that point, you got to make a great sell for your university and your program. But if they don't like it, then they turn around and go somewhere else. So they have to want it. They have to want to be here. They have to want to work through tough times and own it and have ownership of their university. And so I just think that recruiting nuance right there is changed in the last few years.
Ryan, I think there's been a lot of debate among the fan base about C.J. Stroud not running the ball as much as maybe they think he should, and especially plays, maybe he's scrambling, there's open space in front of him, people think he should be taken off. What's your vantage point on that? Like, how are you coaching him in those situations? Do you want to see him look to take off in those situations, or are you telling him not to do that unless absolutely necessary?
No. I mean, it's hard to tell somebody what to do in those situations, because when you do, it won't be the same situation as it was the next time. And so you have to trust your instincts. And I think he's doing a very good job of that. He keeps his eyes upfield. I think there are times where, if he can make 3 or 4 yards and keep us on schedule, then he can do that. He's done that before. And that's just part of playing the game and getting a feel for it and managing the game. There's times where he's skated and extended routes and pushed the ball down the field and made some really good throws as well. So that's just feeling the game and understanding where we are in the game. But keeping us on schedule again is something that we're really hitting on this week.
I know, he's kind of expressed when he's been asked about it, it's not necessarily my job to run, or it's, I'm just trying to do what the coaches are telling me to do. Like, kind of how do you work with him on that in terms of, finding that right balance of when to run and when to not? Yeah,
no, he's very competitive, and he can run. I mean, you've seen him do it before, and he'll continue to do it. It's just, in game and finding the right time to go, duck your head in there for 4 or 5. He did a nice job in the red zone. He pulled one on, I think it was 3rd down and 4, pulled it, made like 6. Really well done. And then I think there was a couple other ones that maybe he, you'd have to ask him if he thought maybe, he should have made 3 or 4 more yards. But that's all part of playing the position. And I played the position, so I know it's not easy, and you can tell somebody what to do in the moment, but you have to trust your instincts. But I think the more he plays, the better he's going to feel in those spots and the more confident he'll be.
Right next door, Griffin Strong, Lettermen Warriors.
Coach, on defense, we saw significantly less of Haskell Garrett and Taraja Mitchell this past week. I was just wondering what went into both of those situations, and if maybe there was any lingering injury issue with Haskell Garrett.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything going on there, and those guys are still a huge part of this team, and hopefully we can get them healthy here moving forward.
On offense, Julian Fleming obviously got the start this past week. What went into the decision for him to start, and what were your impressions of him, seeing him more than we've seen him obviously all season previously?
No, it was great to get Marvin and Julian both out there. They both, I thought, played well for not having played a whole bunch, and they both have really bright futures here, and really fortunate to have both of those guys as part of this program, because you're seeing what the future is going to be like at receiver, and it's very bright, and both guys work really, really hard, and when given the opportunity, they're starting to show what they can do.
Back left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now and Sports Illustrated.
Coach, Trevion Henderson had graded out as a champion this past week, despite the fact he didn't run or put up big numbers, only 90 yards. Can you explain what else he did beyond the box score that you were really impressed with? Yeah,
we grade our guys, and Tony does that for the running backs, and he has a grading system that he puts into place, and sometimes it's protection, sometimes it's running, making an ugly 3 yards. I mean, maybe that's all that was blocked for. It could be running a route. It could be anything like that, effort down the field, and you grade. You did your job. You get a double plus or a double minus. And then from the end, if you grade over an 80%, you're a champion. And so, obviously all the plays he played, which he played a lot of plays, he graded over 80%.
Your kickoff and punt coverage units have been really, really good this year. Is there something you're seeing with this particular group of guys, that has made that unit shine? They don't get a lot of spotlight, but it really has been a bright point.
Yeah, well, I think first off, Parker Fleming's done an excellent job in his meetings. They take a lot of pride in their work. If you come to a walkthrough for all of our guys on special teams, you'd be really impressed. Just very professional, sharp, communicative. They take accountability, and they take pride in those units. And it's starting to show. I mean, you're starting to see our guys play well in those areas. And so we got a bigger challenge this week. These guys are good in special teams, and When it can be an advantage for us, then we think it's huge. And it's a lot of our guys who have taken a lot of pride in the fact that they want to make a contribution, and there's been a bunch of them that have. When you look at the different guys, and so it does, like you said, it doesn't always show up in the highlight films or make the highlight reel at night, but it does in here when we watch film as a team, and there's been some really good play.
Over here to the right, Adam King, WBNS.
Ryan, when you look at a Purdue team that's now beaten 2 top 5 teams, how do you tell your guys to make sure they're on full awareness that Purdue doesn't come in here and pull another top 5 upset?
Well, when we went into the bye week, we looked at all 6 games. Usually we don't look ahead, but that's an opportunity to do that. And we knew what this stretch was going to be like, and we have respect for everybody. And we also know that it just takes one game and you're out. And we've been saying that. And doesn't matter how it looks, we got to win. And we keep winning, then a lot of good things are going to happen. Now, as we look at the film, we realize a lot of things we can clean up. And we can play better. We can play better, but we just have to win these games. And here's another example of a team that has, like you said, beat Iowa. They beat Michigan State last week. They have a top 10 defense in the country. Really, really dangerous on offense. Have really good players. And so, our guys understand that. I mean, they're tied for first in the West. I mean, they're 4-2 with the rest of those guys. They're 4-way tie, and so they're playing for a chance to go to Indy. So they certainly have our attention. Very, very good players and very good scheme.
Third row middle, Doug Lameries, Cleveland.com.
This is kind of a math question. You were, after the Penn State game, I think you said a couple times, it was 34-34 run and pass.
Yeah.
As you seemed to like that balance.
Yeah.
So against Nebraska, you run 84 offensive plays, 54 pass, 30 run. To have that same balance, you would have had to have 42 run plays. Of the 30 you did run, Trevion had 21 carries, right? If you would have gotten that same balance, how should this offense run 42 run plays? How would you get there? Are you comfortable with Trevion having 36 carries? Do you need to use Mayan and Master more? Or do you need CJ taking 8 to 10 carries? Or would 42 be too much?
Right. It's a great question. I think when you look at the called plays, they're not always passes. Some of them are run-pass options. And if they loaded up the box, I think one of the things that, when you look at the landscape of college football right now, where defenses and offenses are, I've really been thinking about this the last couple of weeks. When you have 3 receivers in the game, defenses have been seeing these type of formations and these spread offenses now for a few years. And so a lot of times there's an extra guy down. Now, how are you going to handle the extra guy? And you can do it a couple different ways. But, Nebraska certainly had an extra guy down a good portion of the game. And so you saw a lot of, RPO stuff where we were, sticking it in there and throwing the ball out. Those were called runs. But when they put another guy in there, we have to spread out the field. Now, we could also get into bigger personnel and just try to run over the extra guy, and that's part of it. But so to answer your question, I think it's a little bit of both. I think, yes, we can spread the runs around. CJ having a few carries is a good thing. Usually not designed. Usually if we're reading that extra guy and he's pulling it. Sometimes that extra guy just says hand it off, and you do. But then also having Master involved, Mayan involved, and getting those guys, some of those carries will be part of it as well. And it isn't always going to be that way. Sometimes what you do is you do what you think gives you the best chance to win the game. And if somebody's saying, hey, we're going to put all these guys extra in the box, you got to throw it. If they start to put a 2-shell on it, like some teams have done, then we run it a little bit more. So that's part of it as well. Some of that is the play call. Some of it is the decision of the quarterback to either hand it off or throw it, because that's part of the decision.
Is where the offense is with CJ as a run option or a run threat, is this at all similar to what you guys faced in 18 with Dwayne? And at the end of that season, he started to pull a little bit and run against Maryland. It seemed like, okay, this is adding a wrinkle to that offense. Does your quarterback have to be a threat to pull it on the read and run, not just throw it in an RPO? Does that hold a backside guy? Do you need to establish that a little bit? Or
I don't know. I mean, I think that's all part of the conversations that we have. Is that the right thing to do? And there's a lot of risk and reward with everything you do that in that area. So we talk about that constantly and try to figure out what the right balance is. And so when the time is right, and we need to do that, we will.
18 a valid comparison with Dwayne, or not really?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Right in front, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
You have no issues with Travion, and obviously, he did run hard, but the run game is not clicking right now. The way it certainly did, you had that stretch where you could do no wrong as an offense, and now you've hit some hurdles. When you look at the run game specifically, what do you see as being the issue, and in terms of the offensive line, and how close do you think you are to fixing it?
Well, I think the first thing is just doing a better job and being cleaner, staying on schedule. What I mean by that is like the penalties are getting us out of whack. That's the first thing you just notice. Or a negative run. When I say a negative run, that's anything that would be negative yards or 0, because now you're 2nd and 10. So we have to avoid those things. And we're playing against some good defenses, but we can do a better job of execution. We can do a better job of communication and making sure that we're executing at a higher level. And there's a lot to it. I won't get into all the schematics of all those things. But I will tell you that I don't think it's one thing across the board. I think what you see is maybe one guy was a little bit off here, a little bit off there. And we watched the film in here as a group this week, and it's like if this guy makes that block, look what could happen here. But we didn't. So I think that's all part of the equation. We did meet as a group this week, and the coaches and the players, we all took accountability that we got to get it better. We got to be cleaner, and so whether it's the run game or the pass game in general, we all take accountability.
And on the other side of the ball, this is going to be quite a test for your pass defense. David Bell's obviously a terrific receiver. Can you just kind of describe the challenge that you have and how confident you feel with your pass defense right now?
Yeah, well, I think they have a very good passing offense. I think the quarterback's excellent, and Coach Braum does a really good job. Bell is, a really talented receiver, but they have other guys too that are very, very good, and he attacks you in different ways. So, but they also run the ball as well, and they'll come in here and they certainly, are creative about schematics and different things that they do. So, it's going to be a really important week of work that we're prepared. And, our guys have been playing at a high level, but this is a new challenge. We really haven't gone against a style of offense like this.
Over here to the right, Don Berry, WBNS.
Coach, it's November. Fans see the big point spreads. They see like a Nebraska 3-6. How hard is it to win though in November with a young football team, and given all the expectations that are out there?
Well, our number one goal is to win, and that's all that matters to us. Certainly, we want to play at a high level, and we have a standard that we play to. And if we don't do that, then we come back and try to get it fixed. But the number one goal is to win, and I think college football could maybe be the only sport in the world where it matters sometimes how you win. And we can't get caught up in that, because when you start getting caught up in that, that's how you lose. And so our number one goal is to win the game. And if that means we got to win by 1 point, we win by 1 point. And if we have to apologize for winning by 9 points on the road at Nebraska against a really good team, then life's pretty good. But at the same time, we also have a standard that we need to uphold. And it's about us. It always has been about us. And I would say that we didn't play to a high enough standard in that game. We could have played a lot better. But it was a gritty win on the road, and we're proud of that, and we move on. And I think when you see the teams who are playing in November who continue to win, good things happen.
Every week anything happens. Michigan State was in the playoff last week when it came out, number 3.
Yeah.
They're out. The second one comes out tonight. Do you have an argument that you guys should be in the top 4?
I don't. No, not to me. It doesn't right now, because if we don't win this game, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we continue to win, and then where are we at? At the end of the season. That's what matters. And so I think it's great for college football. I think it brings up a lot of conversation, and that's great. But what did last week matter? Didn't matter anything, because here we are today and tonight, and it will be the same thing next week. So our focus just has to be on Purdue, and that's all that matters. If we win, we move on, and that's the way it should be. And it's obviously great to be relevant in November, and that's what our guys are fired up about. And I think bringing great energy in November with a young team is a challenge, but we're looking forward to this game, a 3:30 home game against Purdue, really good team, and this is what it's all about.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Lettermen Row.
Ryan, maybe this will put a bow on the quarterback run talk. Maybe it won't. I don't know. It feels like this came up with Dwayne at times, as Doug said. Justin's first year as a starter, it came up that he maybe wasn't running enough. Is it just maybe your philosophy that you would rather not have your quarterback running the football that much? Is that a fair way to assess it?
I don't know. I mean, guys have run here before, and when it's appropriate, we do. But also it's clear that we don't run it as much as some of the other places. And I tell people that in recruiting. We're not going to come here and just run you into the ground and get you hurt. And it's a long season, and we got really good players on offense. And so when the time is right and we need to do it, and we got to do it. But at the same time, putting our guys at risk for a long season is not something we do here, and I believe strongly in that. And the quarterback position is a very important position. But to your point, there's times where you got to get it done. We got to get it done.
CJ seemed, I don't know, like he was a little more down after that win than some others, and was harping on the mistakes. What was he like maybe on Sunday or yesterday if you guys got back in and watched the film of those?
Just like I was, same way. We have to, listen, we winning is hard, like we talked about, but at the same time, when you're highly competitive, you take things to heart. You have a vision of what's going to happen, and when it doesn't happen that way, you got to figure out what happened. Let's get this thing fixed. And if you're a competitor, you take ownership of that, you take accountability, and you look within. You don't point the fingers, and I think CJ's done an unbelievable job. We had a great meeting on Sunday, went through the film, some things I wish I had back, some things he wish he had back, and that's really healthy, coach-player relationship, and so now we just continue to get better, and we grow from it, we learn from it. And I'll say this, every week he's getting stronger, he's learning more, he's building, you can see he's got some scars on him now, and that's healthy for a quarterback.
Fourth row right, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Let's switch sports for a minute to basketball. You've got, your big guys are really athletic, and a handful of them, Tyreek, Nick, Juwan, JT, they all play basketball. How much does that factor in with recruiting when you look at guys? Do you watch those basketball games? And secondly, how big are you on multi-sport guys?
I love multiple sport guys. My son was in, I think, 5th grade when a coach told him, you need to decide what sport you want to play. And I almost jumped through the phone at him. I think the more sports you play, the healthier it is. You're learning about how to compete. You're learning how to lose. You're learning how to get better. You're learning about discipline. You're learning so many different things, and you're learning different skill sets. I think spatial awareness, hand-eye coordination, foot quickness, all those things in basketball are tremendous. And I look at it a lot. When we were on the road before COVID, when we would go out in December and January, mostly in January, when we'd go to see some of the underclassmen that we couldn't have contact with, love going to basketball games. It's like one of my favorite things to do on Tuesday nights across the country is go see a guy compete. You get to see how he's coached. You get to see how he lost by 20. What's his attitude? Is he kicking stuff and yelling at his coach, or is he encouraging his teammates and trying to figure out, running back on defense and trying to take a charge late in the fourth quarter down by 15? You just learn so much about people in those environments. You get to see them in their setting. How do their teammates treat them? How do they compete? How do they move? I love seeing that. I think you learn a lot about people. Not that it's 100%, but you get a good snapshot into kind of who they are.
Your guys beat Rutgers in basketball.
Oh, no. They're not as good as they think they are. They think they're a lot better than they are.
Second row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
A little more 2018 talk. In 2018, you guys ran a lot of RPOs too, and it didn't seem like that offensive line took well to it very often, so you guys just kind of stopped doing it. How do you think this offensive line is kind of adjusted to that as much as you guys are doing it right now?
No, I don't think that. We've been really running a whole bunch of the stretch run that you've seen that's kind of taken over the last couple years and been really good for us. And so that's really good for our offensive line. We have a very athletic offensive line, and when we mix in the RPOs, it just helps with the extra guy down in the box.
I know you guys have rotated some guys and tried to get Matthew Jones on the field, and sometimes it's because of injuries, but you just want to get him on the field. But does there come a point in the season where you just need to have 5, regardless of who that is?
No, I don't think so. I think it just depends on the situation and who your guys are.
Over here to the right, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Why is Ruggles so good? Do you ever say anything to him when he takes the field?
No, I stay away from him. He came in and from the jump he's been nothing but professional. And that's what you really appreciate about those guys. Jesse's the same way, Brad's the same way, really low maintenance. If you're having to deal with the specialists and having to coach those guys up, that's usually not a good thing. They kind of take care of themselves, and they're kind of on a different program, and they understand that, but they understand how important their job is, and so you're going to need them in November. It's going to be important. They're playing well, but they got to continue to.
Back row right, Spencer Holbrook, Lettermen Row.
Ryan, everybody's asking you about balance on offense, but when you throw 7 or 8 screen passes in a game, and then it looks like 54 passes, 30 runs, how much of that goes into the balance argument, and are the screens just a part of the run game?
Yes, that's the way that we look at them, yeah. So, the numbers on the stat sheet may look a certain way, but we look at those as runs.
So it's a lot more balanced than people kind of think it is sometimes.
Well, I don't know what people think, but I can tell you that's the way we look at it. We try to make them, stretch out, cover the entire field, and if that means throwing a screen pass to Chris Olave or Jackson Smith, or Garrett or somebody on the edge in the perimeter, or even to Travion, we look at that as a long hand. We call it a long handoff, and it's just it's a way to get them out in space. And if they make 4 or 5 yards, then that's an efficient play for us. Although on the stat sheet sometimes it shows as a pass. That's kind of how we look at it. It's part of the run game.
Seems like at the bye week, all of the pressure on defense, the pass rush was coming from the inside for the first 6 games, and the last couple it's come from the outside. Have you seen a change in the way the defensive ends are working, or anything like that, or do you think it's just gaining experience and getting more comfortable where they're at?
I think it's just now that we've got everybody together. Everyone's healthy. Now you have some young guys who have some depth, and I think because of that, our D-line is playing at a higher level now, and I think Larry's doing a great job of rolling them. You're seeing a lot of guys play, and so they're playing fresh, and they're fresh in November. I think that's a huge part of it.
Time for a couple more. 4th row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, coming into this season and this final stretch, there were obviously certain games that people were looking at. Purdue probably wasn't one that the average person circled, especially early in the season. What has made this team good that they can go and upset teams like that and now clearly have your attention?
Well, I think it starts with their defense. When you look at their front 7, they do a great job. Statistically, they're one of the top teams in the country. Karlaftis is one of the best defensive ends in the country. He's really strong, but they have a bunch of good players, and I think it starts with the defense. But then on offense, certainly Jeff has done a really good job and has for a bunch of years. They scheme you week in and week out, try to find creative ways to attack you, and they have good players. David Bell and they have a whole bunch of them. So I think he's done a really good job. I think maybe last year, I don't remember what their record was, but coming off of COVID, it's just there were so many different variables. But they certainly did a great job in the off season, kind of regrouping, and then they're a good team.
Different topic, but the receivers you guys have, they all seem to be pretty humble, pretty. They're willing to let the throws be spread around. Jackson, after the game, didn't want to talk a ton about himself, even though he had a game like that. That's not typical of the perception of receivers, that diva mentality. How do you work towards getting those guys? Obviously it's in recruiting, but why those guys? Why can you find guys like that then still produce on the field?
I just think that that's what this place is all about. And to hear you talk about a receiver who caught for over 200 yards and played one of the better games here in a long time, not want to talk about himself. What a tribute to who he is and this team and the unselfishness across the board, because we have a lot of good players on offense, and Jackson didn't always get the ball. You got Garrett, you got Chris, you got Ruck, you got Travion, and so you never heard a word out of Jackson. And all of a sudden now he's starting to show up in big games, and so but it's the same thing with Chris, it's the same thing with Garrett, and that's a huge part of being a winning team. And we can be a bunch of individuals or we can be a great team. The only way we're going to win a championship is if we're a great team, and the only way you're a great team is if you're unselfish and you talk about your teammates. And in the end, it all comes back to you in the end. That's just how it works. But to your point, you don't always see that. Families don't always see that. Parents don't always see that. But he obviously has. He's have a mature approach to this thing, and it says a lot about who he is. But he's not the only one. There's a bunch of guys like that on our team, and just proud that these guys take that approach.
And 2nd row right, Tim May, Lettermen Row.
Yeah, a while ago, did I hear an open invitation for us to attend a special teams walkthrough?
No.
Okay, just checking. Have defenses the last couple of weeks kind of caught up with you guys on the offensive front, do you think, a little bit? I mean, some of these backside guys making plays on Travion before he gets to the line, et cetera, like that. What have you noticed on video that, you know, are there some changes in the work, so to speak?
Yeah, I think the last two defenses we played are excellent defenses, and we have another one this week. And it's just not that easy. And if you're not executing really, really well, you know, they can make you look bad. And we have to own that. And we have to understand that we have to execute better. And that's just the bottom line. And I think our guys understand that. That's why today's a big practice for us.
And the other thing, Jackson having 15 catches, that's extraordinary, but is it testament to you that CJ is kind of going where he needs to go with the ball? If you follow my drift, his advancement in that regard, take what they give you kind of situation. How do you look at that from a coaching standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times, like you said, it's wherever the coverage takes you. You know, we have certain reads where, you know, the progression starts one place and comes right across the board. And if it's there, go get it. If it's not, then you need to progress down. And I think that's something that CJ is excellent at. I think, you know, he gets to 3-4 sometimes really fast. And but you know, a lot of it in that game was Jackson making plays. I mean, he was getting open on the inside, and you know, they were playing a couple coverages where, again, the ball was kind of being forced inside again, and there he was creating separation. And so yeah, I mean, Jackson did a great job, and then CJ did a good job as well.
Just one last quickie. Is there any doubt that Tyreek Smith's return has made a difference? I mean, what have you seen from him specifically that's kind of added spark, for want of another term, to that front?
I just think production. And that's something where when you're a veteran, you know, you have to produce, especially in November. And, you know, he kind of missed some time there in the middle. And so, you know, some of the younger guys got on the field and got a bunch of experience. And so now they're ready to go in the game as well. But you know, Tyreek and some of the other guys, some of the older guys are starting to show up for us. And if we want to make a run, the veteran guys have to play veteran. I've always said that. And so he's somebody on a young team that's a veteran guy that certainly, you know, his presence needs to be felt, and it was felt last week and obviously throughout November.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
Okay, yep.
Questions for Coach Wilson, front row, middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
I wanted to ask, kind of from a special teams perspective and head coach perspective with your experience there, you're getting ready to play a team in Purdue that is kind of known for like a lot of gimmickry, a lot of trick plays and stuff like that. Just as a coach, as a program, how do you prepare for things that maybe nobody's ever seen before in some ways, like just stuff that they're pulling off of YouTube, things like that?
Well, I mean, to me, you can over-prepare, because it still comes down to fundamentals. And I'd say from a defense or special team perspective, it's eye discipline. So your guys are lined up where their eyes are supposed to be, because typically they're taking advantage of someone getting out of gap or eyes out of place, or the misdirection, the illusion, the fake this, the fake that, throw it this way, throw it that way. You take your eyes off your man. Here comes a double move, double pass, something like that. So it's kind of like option football. When you're playing teams that are playing some degree of trick. And it's not necessarily trick, it's still execution. It's one thing to call a trick play, it's another thing to execute. And I think the thing that Coach Brom's always done is the knack and timing of when to do that, and the feel for when to do that, for what it's worth. So, but the key still, everybody makes a big deal about that because they do it well. I know years ago, Boise was really good with that with Coach Peterson and whatnot. They're still really good because they block and they tackle and they execute and they're throwing it well and they're playing good defense. So that's a part of what they do, but they're playing good football and winning games and playing good because of just being a sound, solid, fundamental, good team too now.
For an offensive question, is Paris Johnson Jr. getting any work at tackle right now? And if a situation were to unfold like last Saturday where DeJuan couldn't play, but that obviously is coming up right before the game, if he had more time to prepare, is he an option at tackle this year?
Yeah, he is. Although I think with all the experience that Thayer's had, it would be Nick goes back to right and Thayer. So whether it be a problem if something's wrong with Nick, Thayer goes out there. If something's wrong with DeJuan, Nick goes over first. He's on the right side. He would go to right tackle, probably first. I think Coach Stubb would say, but. He's kind of, he's playing guard, he's playing tackle. And the thought was Nick had played so much at right, he could easily go back to right, keep Thayer at left guard so he could just go to left because everything's kind of working out of the stance. Nick has the toughest job going from left to right. If there was an issue and we need a P at right at tackle, he would just kick out the right side.
Right behind him, Dan Holt, Lettermen Warriors.
Kevin, there's been a lot of talk about C.J. Stroud and whether he should be running the ball more. From your perspective as an offensive coordinator, for a quarterback like C.J., how do you coach him in terms of if he's got open space in front of him, when he should be taking off and running the ball and when he should be still looking downfield to throw?
Yeah, I don't personally talk a lot to those guys about that. That's Coach Dennis and Coach Day, and at the same time, I've not seen him many situations where there might be some grass. I think he's kept his eyes downfield and found some viable options that it's not for what it's worth. I mean, quite honestly, there's always the run option for him in some games, but with the shoulder the way he had, we were trying to minimize some hits, risk and reward. So every time we're sitting there, we can RPO and throw a pass, or we can read a defender and throw it, or read an edge player. He's a very capable runner. I just think coming off the shoulder that we had earlier, we just try to be smart and why. Our first third down today was an option play. And the end feathered. He actually should have attacked it maybe a little more and pitched it out. I think we would have got the first down, but he feathered and kept it. We ran a zone read and he kept it on another third down. So there were 2 third downs the other day that he was a part of the action. And, we've got him worked up. And as these games get a little bit, down the stretch, going to be, some great competition every week, and games are close, and those critical scoring zone situations, third down situations, you've got to incorporate every player. But I think as we got into some of these games, we're kind of smart, just trying to minimize contact for him, to tell you the truth.
So,
and I don't think Coach Day's ever told him not to run. I just think he's done a nice job on scrambles, keeping his eyes downfield, and all of a sudden seeing someone and trying to make an awkward throw for a check down.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, when you're talking about minimizing those hits, are you guys telling him hey, don't run unless you have to, or is it just the plays you're calling, you're not emphasizing?
We're not emphasizing. We're not told him not to run. Yeah, at all. It's just the plays we've emphasized in some weeks prior have not been as much quarterback-oriented run. I know Ryan's really worked to have him keep his eyes down the field to get the ball out of his hand. But if you will notice, last week at a couple third downs or critical situations, he kept the football, and it was a run quarterback option play, not a RPO or a drop back pass play.
Second row left, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Kevin, are you guys getting enough movement up front right now with your offensive line? Maybe especially in the red zone, but just overall, are you displacing people in the way you'd like to see that happen?
Yeah, I'd like to, I think it needs to be better. I think the last 2 weeks, the teams we played have done, like a lot of teams are going to do, have blitzing up. There's a lot of lateral movement. With that, I think we went laterally and done some things targeting guys, but not gotten the vertical push. So, and sometimes maybe it's the scheme we're calling. Some of those plays are more internal, and you want them to go forward. Some a little bit more, outside oriented, where they're a little bit more of a, the old word would be elephants in a parade, and they're kind of just, ganging things up and kind of rolling a little bit. So maybe there's not the push there. But in general, you know, I make a lot of times we're watching videotape, and I'll go back and say, you know, watch the sideline. Okay, the ball's on the 20-yard line. Where are we at? Are we on the 19, the 20, the 21, the 22, where are we at? Because when you sit there and watch it behind, you can get skewed. You can see like who's got who, but do I have you going that way? And the object, you know, even when you're running stretch plays, the object is you've got to get vertically down the field at some point in time. If you go sideways, you're not going to run the ball. So we've talked a lot about it. Last 2 weeks with the defenses we've had, we've not done as good as we need to. It'll be a challenge this week because Purdue strength is their front, their D-line, and in the weeks to come. So we've got to do a better job. And whether it be maybe it's also in play calling or scheming, the schemes we're doing, to give our players a chance to get more vertical. So sometimes that might be us in decisions that we're making in the calls that are being made.
Is any part of that, or can any part of that be the fact that you're playing some bigger bodies at guard too than maybe a team would typically play?
I mean, I do believe sometimes you can be. I mean, myself being an old 6-foot center, I believe that you can be a little too tall at certain positions because there is leverage on every block. There's leverage on every pass block. You know, you have to be able to play low and all that. But at the same time, those guys are good knee benders. And again, we just got to do a good job of getting more vertical push, whether it be, again, the schemes that are called, the plays that are called, the running back trusting the scheme. And we just got to get a little bit more, not necessarily downhill, old-fashioned ISO running, but we got to come off the ball better. And tight ends, I mean, everybody, we got to come off the ball better.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, that was basically the question I wanted to ask. I mean, how surprised are you that after a month of basically blowing people off the line and doing whatever you want on offense, that you've hit this kind of rough stretch, and how confident are you can get it fixed?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we cut a few guys clean in the 2 games ago against Penn State with some of the movements and just didn't stay on track and targets. We're a little bit better last week. I think if you go through and you can look at the numbers, but I mean, there's a handful of those plays that are actually blocked really, really well. They're RPO thrown. I kept saying, hand it, you know, but we're throwing it to Jackson for 12 and 14 yards, which is a good play too. So, you know, I still think I look at in the 6 conference games, we're over 5 yards a carry. Last week we had a lot of 3 and 4s. If you keep sliding, I think the thing that doesn't concern me is I've noticed in the last couple games in the fourth quarter when we had to run the ball, you know, we did. And I think we can just stay patient, stay with it. At the same time, we're going to be aggressive in what we do. The first 4th and 1, I mean, Coach Day is going to be aggressive and sound. First 4th and 1, we knew they were going to be in a max blitz. We got it protected. We got a one-on-one, and Jeremy doesn't make a competitive play. But it's what we wanted. It's exactly what we wanted, and we made a great throw, and he didn't come down with no challenge play. At the end of the game, I think we're on the 20-yard line. Got a coverage we want. We got Chris Olave for a touchdown, and our protection's been so good this year. But on that play, Thayer and Nick and Talking didn't get communicated cleanly. We got split. We got flushed, almost had a fumble. And that's an aggressive call. And everybody said, the coach is going to be aggressive, but it's aggressive sound in what we're doing. We want our players to play that way. And I think we can run the ball better. We got to run the ball better. But I think down the stretch, we've ran it well when we had to, and everybody knows you have to run. Here comes some good runs. So I think it's there. Let's just get a little bit more consistent. Let's clean it up in our practice and what we're doing, and maybe putting them in better positions in practice. Let's do a better job of myself and Coach Day working to get maybe some cleaner calls for our guys and get that ball in 32's hands when we need to. And at the same time, quarterback's playing well. We're going to throw it around. There's pretty good balance. And, you know, when we get clicking really good, we're really good. And sometimes there's some rough, you know, you got to win ugly once in a while. You got to be able to, when you can't make a shot, you just got to keep fighting through it. So we're going to fight through the run game. It is the time of year in November. You got to run the ball. You got to run the ball in the Big Ten. We got some great playmakers. We'll keep throwing it great. We'll keep doing our best to protect great. But we got to run the ball well down the stretch to be the team we need. And we've been working at it. And last 2 games a little off, but I think it's things that are correctable. And I think we're all a part of the problem. Sometimes it might be a play call or suggestion that Coach Day or myself want to do. Sometimes it might be the execution of the tight end at the point of attack. It might be a backside block. Running back might miss the cut. I mean, it's a collective piece, but it's I think very it's concerning because we need to be better. But I don't think it's worrisome that we're not going to get it right.
Speaking of situations where you might want to run the ball, you had the ball at 34, under 2 minutes to go. Called the pass play that CJ got stripped of the ball. Has there been discussion in the coaching room about whether that was the right call? Or how would you?
Well, we got our guy. We got the coverage we wanted, play we wanted, had a touchdown. I mean, Chris Olave's wide open on a double move down the seam on quarters that we wanted. And we just, again, you expect our guys to run block the well. Well, they've been great pass blocking, and that's the play where, again, I'm saying that we didn't execute our protection well with Thayer and Nick on the same page on a little backside slide, and we just got a little crease. And you know, it was aggressive, but it was sound. It was a four-man rush. It was a play designed to attack a coverage that would be there. It was there. I think the fourth play of the game, we got Chris on a wide open post. We break down in protection. You know, I mean, the coach is making an aggressive call. I mean, so sometimes the calls could be better on our part. Sometimes the execution can be better. We're clipping along pretty good. We're not perfect, and not every call is going to be perfect. But I think Ryan does a phenomenal job of being aggressive, but sound, and we're going to trust our players to make plays. You know, we didn't execute a protection cleanly, and they got to do a better job. We're not mad about it. We're counting on them. We know they will. And that time, we didn't. We're counting on Jeremy making a great catch on a fourth down, and the ball was delivered and didn't come up with it. I mean, their kid made a nice play. Jeremy's got to make the play, but coach was going to be aggressive. Good call. It didn't work. I mean, when you're calling plays, you got to have the courage to take the criticism if it doesn't work. Those are sound plays that we didn't execute, and we'll keep at it, and we'll keep that running game coming too.
Second row right, Austin Ward, Lettermen Row.
Kevin, it seems like Jeremy's maybe had 2 or 3 others like that throughout the year. Maybe just hasn't clicked for him the way he would have thought. What has been your evaluation in the room of the way Ruck has played this year?
Yeah, he's played really well as far as across the board, as far as play. I thought his the last quarter against Penn State might have been the best quarter he's played. And not because he had 2 catches, just some blocks he made, and and he really wasn't playing horribly. It was just okay. And all of a sudden, I said to him, there was no motivational talk. What happened? He said, I just knew we had to play better. I said, well, lock him like that every daggone play, man, because I think it might have been the best quarter he's played was the last quarter, because he knew it was a big game. He knew he needed to play one. Sometimes it was just a cutoff block that maybe wasn't seen. So, you know, he's played well. I mean, I think like everyone, he knows, sometimes as tight ends you feel you get judged by the ball in your hand. And so sometimes you're pressing and maybe hurrying a route or stressing. I keep telling him to relax. He's practiced well. I think he's had a heck of a year. I got a lot of respect and appreciation and love for him. He's doing well, and he's a great player in our room, and he'll finish this season very, very strong.
Has Cade sort of maybe come now that he's got a normal year with you all at tight end?
He made a couple short yardage blocks the other day that was the best pad level effort because early in the game, early in the season, there was some hesitation. It was really, really good to see. And Mitch Rossi's really played well too now. So those 2 guys, matter of fact, last game, Jeremy pushed, I think, 70-ish plays, 71 or 2, and Cade and those guys only got about 10. I need to get Cade into that, 15, 18. And we didn't play as much 12 or big personnel last game as some of the normal down calls. But we need to get Mitch and Cade on the field, 12, 15 to 20 times a game, get Jeremy's volume at about 50, 55, and we'll be better in that unit there.
Over here to the far right, Clay Hall, the SYMX.
Yeah, NIL's been out there for a few months now. Do you think the gold rush is over and that players have settled in? Does that ever get in the way of coaching a kid?
Around here, I think we've got such great support with our administration behind the scenes. What's been a part of it, I have no knowledge of really what our guys. I mean, I'm trying to right now get back in there and get a script and have a great Tuesday practice, and kind of more concerned with that. So I think our players. I was worried about our players being distracted. I think the way we practiced, I think the way we played. I think on the road, young team, you're in a 1-possession game. You got to make some plays. I'm seeing some young guys. I think we can always play better. But I see a crowd that has gotten past the COVID, where I'm in 1 week, I'm out a week, I'm shut down, I'm back, I'm shut down, I'm back. I'm seeing a group that's learning how to go every day and go every week and get better. And I think they're learning how to manage the NLI stuff. I think our guys, and I think with the support that the university gives us here, I think our guys appear to be very stress-free as they handle that and maintain their grades, and most importantly for us, sometimes play really good football on Saturdays.
Fourth row right, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Kevin, as a coach, as a recruiter, how important is it for you to go after guys who are multi-sport, and more specifically, big guys, and more specifically than guys that play basketball?
Yeah, is that a question related to like DeJuan because of his basketball size?
5 guys that are like
Yeah,
that, yeah.
I mean, like Josh Friars really was a pretty good basketball player. And, having coached in the state of Indiana, every time I saw a 6'5" kid, if he didn't play basketball, I said, what's wrong with you? Because you grew up thinking you were going to, be the next Larry Bird or something, So I know there's a lot of great trainers, a lot of kids train year-round. But years ago, Coach Walker was this way years ago when I was a young coach with him. I've heard a lot of great coaches like Coach Saban. I think the competitive environment, having to make a free throw in the games on the line or step into a batter's box or not have a false start on a 100-meter or a fault on a throw, to put stress on yourself, to have to compete and have to practice. You got to train, you got to develop the sport. But I think the really great, I mean, to me, if you can play a defensive back here at Ohio State, you can play high school basketball. If you're a wide receiver at Ohio State, you can play high school basketball. So I love it when in my room coaching tight ends. I love tight ends that play multiple sports. I think it helps them become better players. I think it just helps round them out as a person, as a student, as a high school athlete. And I just think the more competitive environments, our kids learn how to handle success and failure, how to handle coaching, how to deal with all the different situations with different coaches, different sports. I think the more you play, the better. And I would encourage every young parent in that's raising kids and wants them to play a certain sport, play as many sports as you can. The more, the better.
Third row middle, Doug Lamorise, Cleveland.com.
Just out of curiosity, the little throw out to Rossi when he had like no blockers in front of him, and CJ flipped that little pass out to him. Was that designed like that? Is that trying to get Rossi in space, or were some wires crossed on that?
No, that was we actually had a spread run that based on what was going on. If it was loaded, we had quick outsides, we had inside deep throws, quick outside throws, and a run. And it was a combination RPO play where we could run it. We could, if we saw blitz, max up and take a deep shot, and if they bailed out, it was to throw a quick one. And Mitch happened to be by rotation just in the game as the tight end, so that could have easily been to Jeremy or to Cade, but by rotation and just kind of keeping the guys fresh. Mitch was in, so he was what we call, he was the now guy, he was the quick guy. There was another, our receiver to the field was a quick guy. We had 2 deep throws, and we were running an internal run. It was basically an RPO play.
What you said about the offensive lineman, sometimes it looks like in an RPO, man, you blocked it up pretty good. Oh, that would have been a great one to hand it off, right? But you threw it and got a gain there. I mean, RPOs obviously are so prevalent everywhere now, have been for years. Are linemen all bought in on RPOs, or sometimes do they just still want to run the ball, let us run block and get downhill, and are they ever frustrated by, man, we blocked it up really well there, and then it was a throw?
I think sometimes the coach and coaches that like to have the running back that wants, the yards per carry for his runner. You like sometimes too though when it's amazing, like on every RPO after you throw it, you say you should have run it. Well, as soon as you pull out of it, the defense quits pursuing, so the run actually looks a little bit better post. When you didn't hand it off, you hand it off, they're probably pursuing a little bit better. So sometimes those gaping holes maybe aren't quite as open as you thought they're going to be. But I think our linemen are bought into it because with the way we practice and the way we do it, they don't know. And I think linemen do like to just come off the ball to some degree. You don't want to be like backing up all the time. I think that leads to some of the lack of vertical push that we're talking about. The more you're coming off, the more vertical, the better the pad level, the tougher you get. So I think there's a place where whether you hand the ball off or not, I think the linemen feel good about having those calls wherever the ball gets distributed. I don't think they get frustrated by that at all.
Far left, Justin Holbrook, WCMH.
Ryan mentioned how the penalties are throwing you guys out of whack, especially in the run game. Is that something where they might feel pressure of that vertical blocking and to get out early that might be causing that, or is it just something else mentally that's going on there?
I just think it's mental lack of just poor fundamentals, hands outside the framework, getting a hold, just being a little bit maybe lazy and not moving your feet, getting behind, grabbing a guy. We've had a couple false starts where didn't get the communication, didn't hear the snap count, being louder, or just didn't get locked in and see it. So to me, it's we got to be more disciplined. And we've shown some flashes where we are, but we're also young enough. We've shown some immaturity, and in the game this week and down the stretch, we have to minimize that as much as we can. Really good teams play cleaner that way, and we need to play cleaner. It's a point of emphasis.
Last 2 games, it's been an emphasis on passing, especially the first 20 plays, 15 passes, 14 passes. Is that something the defense is giving you? You want to be aggressive, or would it help to maybe run a little more to establish that where you're having success, like you said, in the second half?
We don't really do like a locked-in scripts, kind of by feel. And, a lot of times early, again, in our league, even though we have for years thrown the ball well, people still typically commit a lot of people to stop the run. So I think, even years ago, the traditional I formation coach that was going to run the ball more than pass, a lot of good running teams would be 50-50 run pass in the first half and then 70-30 run in the second half as you had the lead. So I think early in the game, you've got to do some things, whether you say softening them up or taking advantage of what's going on. And, I think, with the playmakers we have, our protection's been good, our quarterback's played well. Ryan's got a lot of confidence in those guys. He stays without being unsound. He stays very aggressive. And, he's just kind of getting a feel, getting a flow of what's going on. Each week you're judging how much are they blitzing early. Is it man? Is it zone? Is it single high coverage too deep? How much movement's going on? You're cat and mousing a little bit early, but I think he feels very confident in CJ's ability to distribute the ball. And at the same time, it would be good to kind of get our run game a little bit more in the mix as we go forward here too with that.
Just a couple more.
Kevin, in the really the first September, October, you guys were really good in the red zone in terms of coming over the touchdown. In the last couple weeks, it's been hard to come by. Is that what do you, I guess, looking back on the last two games, attribute that primarily to? Is there like commonality, or what can you do to find, I guess, more success there?
I think a lot of it's been addressed because again, that and third down conversions. When I say addressed, I mean with some of the things we've been talking about. One, we've played some defenses that are, one, pretty good at it. But two, the ability to run the ball and stay on schedule or not have a penalty getting off schedule, and the ability to execute the pass game. Like the other day, we had one that we thought was going to be pretty good. Protection breaks down, and everybody thinks it's a greedy, poor call. We didn't execute it well. So our play calling can be better sometimes with what we're trying to work up. Yes, our execution can be. It's a little bit of everything, and that's why, as well as we played, and we played good enough to continue to win, we've been a little bit off, and it's a combination of all of us. I think Coach did a great job the other day of just bringing everybody together, saying we all can and will do better. We'll do better from play calling and planning and preparing and practice as coaches and get you guys even more and more prepared. And as across the board, let's all take ownership where individually we got just a few things that we need to be clear. So it's going to be difficult because the zones get tighter, the defense gets a little bit more aggressive. But in the day, we need to look in the mirror and know that we must execute better down the stretch. Third downs as well.
When you talk about the running game and getting more of a push, is that an area where you really have to have it? Because obviously you're running out of space.
Yeah, and especially, that's where sometimes you got to be smart when you're running the quarterback or the RPO stuff, because again, the numbers, they get a little bit more what we call zero hole, where there's an extra guy that's really not even playing anyone because they're kind of playing loose man across you and kind of rallying. And there are a lot, people used to play a lot of press man. You run slants and fades and get easy scores and cross routes. Now they're playing loose man, and there's an extra hat, in the run game. So it's a lot of muddy water. It's a lot of tough sledding. And we'll look really hard this week as we're playing a really stout Purdue team defensively, up front, front seven, of how to have the right runs with the right angles and the right hats to block them better to keep us on schedule. And then our backs going to have to take 2 and get 3, 3 and get 4, 4 and get 5, move the pile. We got to incorporate our quarterback in the run game a little bit probably as we go each week, and we got to execute the pass game. But we've got to score. You don't win championships and play high level kicking field goals. Our field goal kicker's been awesome, and a lot of appreciation for him, but we need to score touchdowns down the stretch.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
All right, guys, thanks.
had him listed as a freshman. That was just wishful thinking there, but he is obviously a grad student up from North Carolina. We're going to open up the floor for questions. Noah will go front row middle. That's Bill Rabinowitz with the Columbus Dispatch.
I know. I would imagine kickers are fairly anonymous here on campus, but I would imagine you're not so much. How has your life changed in the last couple of weeks with your success?
It's been good. I actually don't spend too much time on campus. I only have class twice a week on Monday and Tuesday nights, so usually there's not too much foot traffic on campus at those hours. But walk into class and a lot of people are saying good job and like nice kicks, so that's pretty cool.
Fourth row middle, Patrick Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
You know, just similar kind of question, but how much different have things been at a program like Ohio State? Not to take anything away from North Carolina, but I know that's a basketball school primarily. Just being a part of this football program, the stadium here, just all of that type of experience outside of just kicking for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the stadium's a lot bigger, but that doesn't make much of a difference for me. But I would just say, as a football aspect, the way we do practices here is a lot different, and I think it's a lot smarter. Just in terms of we don't kick field goals every day, we don't do kickoffs every day. We didn't at UNC. We didn't do kickoffs every day at UNC because that's like really taxing on the body. But the field goal every day thing, I only kick field goals twice a week in practice, and I think taking care of your body that way and not kicking every day has really helped me a lot.
Did you grow up kicking? I know a lot of guys are soccer players, or some guys have played rugby, things like that. Were you always a kicker, or did you do other sports as well?
No, yeah, I played soccer my whole life. I didn't start kicking until late in my sophomore year of high school, and I really got serious about it in my junior year. So, yeah.
How was your soccer career?
Good. I had always had a strong leg in soccer. Was always ripping shots from far out, and I think that's kind of where I got the talent from naturally.
We're going to go back left. Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
You know, I have to mention, this is probably pretty cool for you, and I'm not sure when you transferred here if this was something that you foresaw, or you visited with us now several times. What has happened to you? How has that sort of measured up to your expectations when you transferred here?
I didn't have many expectations. I just wanted to come in and make an impact, and with all this happening, obviously there's a lot more attention now, but it doesn't really make much of a difference to me as a person. If I take it one day at a time.
How about your units in particular, not necessarily so much you? The kickoff coverage unit is averaging only 15 yards per return for your opponents, and the punt return units are just over 5 per return. Can you take us into what practice is like when you guys are doing special teams? We have a chance to see it. We hear all about the culture and how guys have to earn their way onto the field on offense, on defense by being good special teams players. But what's it like to be a part, right in the middle of that?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, the guys on my kickoff team are a bunch of savages. They always go down and make the plays. I always know it. I trust them. And even when my kicks aren't absolutely great, I know they're going to cover me on that. And I think it's the same with the punt team and everything. We take special teams really seriously here. And you really got to earn your way onto those units. You got to earn your playing time, and I think it's important. And guys, they want to be on that team. They want to be a part of that. They want to make big plays on special teams.
And real quick, do you get nervous?
Maybe a little nerves leading up to the game, but once I'm out there, everything goes away, and I get locked into my zone, and everything's fine.
Second row middle, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
No, you're from Florida, and then obviously started your college career in North Carolina. Do you anticipate that place kicking is going to be different as things get colder here in the next few weeks? And do you have to prepare for that some way, either physically or mentally?
Yeah, I played in some cold games. I played up at Pitt twice in my career, and I had some of my best kicking days at that stadium at Heinz Field, so I'm not too nervous about it. Just you got to stay warmer on the sideline. You got to keep that body moving a little more, but it's just you got to adapt to it.
And I believe your career long is 49 yards. Just as a competitor, how much are you looking forward to at some point maybe getting on the field and getting one that has a 5 at the front of it?
Yeah, I'm excited. I practice it all the time. We practice it every time we do field goal period in practice, so I'm ready for it whenever it comes.
What's the long in practice?
What's that?
What's your long in practice?
I think 56.
Right behind him, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
No, you were asked about soccer. I know a few weeks ago you and some of the other guys had a chance to go spend some time with the crew. Just wondering what that was like for you.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, I got to play a little soccer with the guys on the crew and did a little crossbar challenge, did some juggling. It was really fun. We got to see all their facilities. It was honestly like a dream come true. Just all my life I wanted to play professional soccer, and to be out in Lower.com Stadium, that was pretty insane.
You mentioned having that dream of professional soccer. Like, is the NFL your dream now, professional football?
Yes, sir. That's I made that decision my junior year of high school when I started pursuing football seriously. I kind of quit soccer to prevent injury, and I even I was telling somebody the other day, I was begging my high school soccer coach to let me play my senior year, and he just wouldn't. I would go to the games, stick around, beg him, but he never let me. So, in my best interest, of course.
Over here to the far right, Clay Hall, WSYX TV.
Little Birdie said that you're a surfer.
Yes, sir.
You don't find a lot of waves around here. So you pursue that in the summer, or where do you go? Atlantic, Pacific?
Yeah. In Florida, it's funny. Where I was from, the Gulf Coast doesn't have many waves. It's rare that they do, but 2 hours, 30 minutes, straight shot across. You have Cocoa Beach and the East Coast, so that was my spot back then. And then fast forward to North Carolina, the same exact amount of time, 2 hours, 30 minutes east, was Wrightsville Beach, and that was my spot when I was there. And now I'm eyeing Lake Erie for the off season, but yeah. So I mean, you make the most of what you got.
Do you have a name for your board?
I don't have a name for my board. I got plenty of them. Too many at this point, but yeah.
Is there any parallel between those two skills?
Surfing and kicking, just being in the moment, not really thinking about anything outside what the task is at hand. So, take that.
Second row right, Austin Ward, Lettermen Row. Now that
your NFL stock is soaring, you have an extra year available. Are you planning to return next year, or have you thought about that at this point?
Yeah, I have thought about that, and me and my family are just taking it day by day. No decision's been made yet, but we'll see.
I mean, does it strike you as odd that we're even having that conversation at this point? I don't think anybody around here in the summer would have given much thought to that.
No, sir. Honestly, that's been my goal since I came to college at UNC, and I knew I had it in me, and it's just a matter of getting the opportunity to show it.
I'm going to jump in and call on myself, Noah. I read something where, Jerry, question. You were in the portal a long time. So how long were you in the portal, and then what was it like when you got a response from, I think, Parker?
Yeah, it definitely was a long process in the portal. I was in there since December. Coach Brown at UNC allowed some of us guys that wanted to enter the portal to still go to the Orange Bowl and practice and finish this year out with our team. So that was awesome. But yeah, I entered the portal in December, had a lot of opportunities right off the back, and they ended up passing me up, getting other guys, or just not having a scholarship available. So it was a long process, and I kind of passed on some smaller opportunities just because I felt that there was something better out there for me, and I just trusted God, and here I am. It's crazy how it ended up working like this.
And when did Parker reach out to you?
That was early May. We talked on the phone, early April, sorry, and hadn't really talked much that month of April. And then fast forward to May, I reach out to him again, kind of bug him a little bit, and then we scheduled this workout for June 1st when the NCAA allowed us to do that, and came up for the workout and made it happen.
Wow. Okay. Front row right here, Tim May, Lettermen Row.
Yeah. Do you dream of surfing the big one in Nazaré, Portugal?
I've never really even thought to dabble with that size wave, but yeah, I just think that's really dangerous. But if I was out of my mind, maybe.
I wanted to ask you, do you? I've never asked a kicker this. Do you take care of your foot during the week? I mean, do you? You know what I mean? How do you kind of watch out for yourself? Because it's so vital, as I.
Yeah. I mean, I just I've taken stretching a lot more serious these past couple of years. I even noticed early on in high school when I would just take stretching more seriously with soccer, I'd perform much better on the field. And these past 2 years, I've just really locked into on a routine with that and keeping my body fresh. And I think that's really the biggest impact on me.
The other thing, do you look back on a game like the other day when you had all those kicks? Do you go back and analyze each kick? I mean, how firm was it? I mean, you know what I mean? What
Right.
do you look for when you look back on a game? I
Yeah.
mean, or you just try to approach each kick as that's You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
one.
like
I know you do that, but
yeah, even like the first field goal I had at Nebraska, I was thinking like this could be the one that determines if we win or lose at the end. So it's like I treat every kick like a game-winning opportunity, and there's always something to learn from. Even if it goes through the uprights, there could be one that like maybe didn't strike it as well or something like that. I thought I had like all my balls on Saturday were like my A ball, and I think that was like really important. But yeah, there's always something to learn from. You look at your form, you look at how you finish. There's so many different aspects that determine how a kick goes.
Can I ask one more quickie? Does your ball always move a little? And how do you
Yeah.
know it's going to move for you the way you want it to move?
Right. Yeah, it's like
A&M guy against Alabama.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. I mean, that's usually a result of how you follow through. If you're coming across it too quick, it kind of will move right. If you come out on it, it's kind of like golf when you're hitting a draw or a fade, you know. So, yeah, it depends, and it's always something to learn from.
Go ahead, Clay. Your last kick, I was on the field and I looked up as it came through, and it wasn't end over end.
Right.
It was like
Yeah.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
How did that actually happen?
I think
How did you
yeah.
control that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was just really locked in the moment, and that type of ball that I hit, then that got through the wind, and I was kicking into the wind at that point. And it's kind of like me and Jesse were talking about it. It's kind of like the perfect ball I needed to kick to get through the wind on that, and have it have the same distance. So, yeah, I didn't try to do that. Obviously, it's just like yeah. No, it's just still just hitting a straight ball. I just focus on my form.
What's called the Ruggles Nuggle. Fourth row.
I hope
you know,
not.
knuckle. Fourth row left. Colin Gay, Rivals.
You mentioned Jesse, and I'm curious about, what is your relationship like with Jesse or the specialists? I mean, how have you guys, it seems like you guys are together a lot because you have to, so I'm curious what your relationship is like.
We have an incredible group. We have so much fun together, and Jesse has been great holding the field goals this year, holding my balls, as you could say. But he's been doing a really good job. It's his first year holding, and obviously he had to work really hard to get good at that, and it's such an important thing when you're kicking, and Brad's been doing a great job getting it back there as well.
Is that something that you know kind of like what to expect? You can kind of mold him into a holder, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, honestly, with holding, it's just, anybody can do it, obviously. It takes a lot of work and a lot of failed repetitions to get it right, and he's been doing an unbelievable job in the game, pressure situations as well.
Got time for one more. Did I miss someone? Okay, so front row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
No, you said you kick twice a week here, and that's different from North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
So what's the rest of your week like?
A lot of throwing the ball around, helping out my guys punting, fetching for them, but just taking care of your body, yeah.
So what was it like at North Carolina?
We would have field goal pretty much every day we practice. Not pretty much, every day we practice, even the day after games, and I'd be pretty hurt from games sometimes and just have to go out there and still kick. So it's a lot more relaxing on the days I'm not kicking and kind of just taking a mental break, and then on the days I'm kicking, I just got to go out there and perform. I always found that I succeeded a lot better in spring ball because you practice on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. That's 3 times a week, limited reps, but I always was more accurate in spring ball than I was during the season in North Carolina.
So you're seeing that show up right now?
Yeah, for sure. And when I was training in the off season in the portal, posting videos on Twitter and stuff, I was on my own schedule, so I was pretty much going 3 times a week, and that just it's how you stay fresh. I think it's how you don't start overthinking things. Just kicking every day, if you miss one, you're going to try to fix it over and over again. But if you take a day off, kind of process everything, it helps.
Great. Noah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks. All right, we'll bring in Marcus Williamson for our final interview of the day. Okay, thank you. We'll open it up front row, middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
So I was looking back at the box score from the last Purdue game. It looked like you're one of the few guys who might have actually played in that game that's still around. Any message that you're sending to guys this week about that experience and what that meant? And does it feel like something you guys have kept any connection to that feeling as a motivator, as whatever?
Unfortunately, I was pretty banged up that year. I was out with surgery on my shoulder, so I wasn't too involved in the team day-to-days, but it's definitely been some sort of a talking point moving forward.
Right behind him, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, similar question to that. As somebody who's been here, you were here for that game. You've been through games like that. As veterans, how much do you guys talk to the younger guys about making sure that you don't let that happen to again, that you avoid, that trap here late in the season?
It's just showing up day to day, same routine, keeping it going, and just setting that example that it's very hard to win games, especially at this level, and to do it every week takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and so like I said earlier, just that routine is just moving forward every week has had a huge effect, and I'm sure it'll pay off.
Think back on that game back in 2018 and think about like the way the team felt after that game and wanting to not let that happen again?
Not too much.
Right behind him, Colin Gate, Rivals.
It seems like a lot of opposing offenses are, kind of straying away from attacking you guys on the outside, focusing on that middle of the field. Is that something that, you take, pride in, that like people are going your way, or what? How does that make you feel in terms of, getting so much attention in the passing game in the middle of the field?
I think a lot of times, footballs are pretty, at the end of the day, not too complicated of a game. And, as you watch tape and you see how maybe other teams attack us, I don't know if maybe they try to emulate that. I don't know if, maybe it's just a coincidence. But, we just try to prepare for everything. And I think it is paying off.
Is that something, especially with, the two big kind of games that Samori Toure had against you guys at Nebraska? I'm curious, what did you see on those plays? And because it seemed like both of those big kind of shots were in the middle of the field, and I'm curious about like what improvement needs to be made, what kind of you take from that film, because it could be something, say Purdue, Michigan State could attack as well.
Right. I think other teams often make good plays. Make the big ones sometimes. So I'm sure the coaches will have a great plan for how we'll attack that. But that's really all I got for that.
Far left, Justin Holbrook, WCMH.
You had a couple of nice open field tackles, especially in that game against Nebraska and this season. How much do you pride yourself on doing that, turning what could be a 20-yard gain into just 5, making them go for it again? How much do you pride yourself on that?
Something we say around here that, at the end of the day, football's, blocking and tackling and of course, like running, and you throw passing there, but tackling is the most, simple aspect of this game. And so that's something that we try to, really harp on in practice and film, just in our day-to-day and how we approach ourselves in this program. And so, yeah, we do take a lot of pride in our tackling, and I think as a defense, we're tackling it really well.
Just on the upcoming game, how much have you gotten to see David Bell? What he's done this season, already has over 1,000 yards, a couple of games with 200 yards. What does he do well, if you've been able to watch it that much?
Awesome player. I don't know if we see too many chinks in his game. He's just a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal ball player, and I'm sure we're excited as a whole to play him.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, along those lines, their whole passing offense is quite explosive and quite good. How much are you guys looking forward to that challenge, and what do you think is the key to success?
We approach every week, pretty similarly. The next opponent, they're always, a Division I football team at the end of the day. There's somebody that has, great athletes, great people. I guess the saying goes, they're on scholarship too. So we try to approach every week, pretty much the same. Let the coaches give the game plan and move from there. So we're very excited for the meeting coming up, and I'm sure it'll be a great game.
And for you, obviously you took an extra year. You got 2 more games in the shoe. What's your kind of mindset right now as you see your career coming to a close? And you went through some rough periods earlier this year and came through it. Can you reflect on this year for yourself?
I'm extremely grateful just to have this opportunity to be able to play at a program that means so much to me. Personally, just to have this platform to be able to play the game I love, Just extremely grateful. I'll try to approach every day in that mindset, and I'm just loving life, man.
Over here to the right, Tim May, Lettermen Row.
Marcus, can you put into words the difference in the confidence that you guys feel defensively right now compared to 6, 7, 8 weeks ago? I mean, how does it show itself, I guess?
I think early on, we had a lot of, I don't want to say inexperienced guys, but, we had a lot of, leaving starters last year or departing. And so just finding that routine, like I said earlier, getting comfortable with preparation every week, day to day, it's showing itself on the field, and it puts a sense of confidence in you to go out there and show it on Saturdays. We work very hard on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Monday and Friday, every day of the week, to go out there and to play for 3 hours.
And do you get the sense you're part of an aggressive unit now? I mean, basically, as the confidence has come, some of the plays you guys call, you blitzing, 7 blitzing off the edge, Ronnie Hickman doing what he does. I mean, is there a sense y'all are an aggressive group now? Do y'all even talk about that?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. It's a mentality, it's a mindset, it's a way of life. It's how we do things around here. It's what we want to, put on the field. And if it doesn't happen, we're going to get to the drawing board, figure out why, and try to go do it again. It's just waking up every day, trying to attack our opponent, the workout, the practice, it's just how we live. So I think it has huge effects on the field.
Over to the right, Austin Ward, Lettermen Row.
Marcus, when you talk about being grateful for this opportunity, 5 or 6 weeks ago, maybe couldn't have envisioned a scenario where you're staying and being on the field. That key, it's 3 and out, you get the hit or in coverage on the breakup. Maybe Nebraska wants a penalty, but I'm sure you think the call was okay. Just being in that scenario and delivering when maybe it could have gone a different way, what does that mean to you?
Truth be told, I haven't tried to think about it too much. My mind's never wavered. My faith's never wavered. I know God has a plan for each and every one of us, and sometimes that path may not be what we envision for ourselves, but if you just keep walking, you keep faith, great things happen. And so I'm just, so grateful, like I said, to even, make a play, So I take, every play, every step, just with extreme gratitude and thankfulness to my Lord and Savior, for putting me in this position.
Is there something about the way you've practiced, the way you prepare that put you in that position and to make the most of it? Something that's different than September for you personally?
No, I don't want to say it was an overnight thing. This is, we dedicate our whole lives to this game, And so I think that's why it means a lot to so many of these guys, even if it doesn't work out in this way or you have to change, maybe change some things up, I don't know. But just a repeated effort, man, over time. And I think that's really how you accomplish things in this life. So it's a repeated effort to put my best foot forward, and I'm glad to see some sort of payoff and to contribute to this team.
Did I miss anyone else on here? All right, one last quickie. Go ahead, and then we'll go to Brandon in the back.
Marcus, you brought up David Bell a minute ago. I think a lot of us, when we watch football, you wonder, how does the number one guy, receiver, one of the top receivers in the country, watching that game the other day against Michigan State, he's like wide open sometimes. Explain to people how that happens sometimes and how you guard against that maybe going into a game like this, not to let him just take over,
Some people are just amazing players, and when you have a talent like that, sometimes things happen. I'm sure we'll have a great game plan, for him, but he's very fun to watch on film, and we have great respect for him.
And Brendan Gulick, Sports Illustrated now on Buckeyes Now or something like that.
I don't know how I follow that. That was awesome. I feel like in the answers that you have given us the couple times that you've talked to us, it feels like you really, you speak from the heart, man. Like there's nothing that's surface level. I'm just curious if there's like a person in your life that has given you perspective where you're able to just dive a little deeper and open up, because a lot of times, we tend to hear answers that sound like they were rehearsed or coach speak or whatever. I just feel like there's something really genuine about the way you speak with us.
Oh man, I appreciate that. You know, it's a great compliment. I think just my faith in God and how I approach every day. And you mentioned a person, I got to shout out my mom. You know, she's my rock. She means so much to me and to my family, and just how she lives life. She's such a hard worker, you know, so passionate about what she does. And, you know, just to try to, you know, follow in her footsteps, you know, try to put smiles on people's faces, try to be yourself. It's so rewarding, you know, to just give and to, you know, just pour into others. And so just learning that from her, I'd say it would be a big contributor to just, you know, how I try to carry myself.
What's her name, Marcus?
Tamar Williamson.
Tomorrow. Okay. All right, Marcus, thank you very much.